Case study: the murder of Sarah Everard and its profound impact on the UK. 1. Introduction: the abduction and murder of 33-year-old Sarah Everard in March 2021 became one of the most highly publicized criminal cases in recent UK history. Her death not only shocked the nation, but also ignited a widespread conversation about women's safety, the abuse of power by law enforcement, and the systemic failures that allowed such a crime to occur. Wayne Couzens, a serving Metropolitan Police officer, was found guilty of the murder, sparking outrage and calls for reform across the UK. This case study examines the events leading to Everard's death, the investigation and trial, and the broader societal implications of the crime, which continues to shape public discourse in the UK. 2. Background: who was Sarah Everard? Sarah Everard was a 33-year-old marketing executive who lived in Brixton, South London. Originally from York, she had studied at Durham University before moving to London for work. Described by friends and family as kind, thoughtful, and full of life, Sarah led an unassuming life and had no known connections to any criminal activities or dangerous individuals. On the evening of March 3, 2021, Sarah was walking home from a friend's house in Clapham, South London. Like many other women in the city, she chose to walk along well-lit streets and had even spoken to her boyfriend during her journey to let him know she was on her way home. Tragically, she would never make it home. 3. The abduction and murder. At around 9:30 p.m. on March 3rd, Sarah Everard was walking along the A205 South Circular Road when she was stopped by Wayne Couzens. Couzens, who was a Metropolitan Police officer at the time, used his police credentials to deceive and abduct her. He falsely arrested Sarah for breaching COVID-19 lockdown regulations, handcuffing her and placing her in a hire car he had rented for the purpose of carrying out the crime. Couzens then drove Sarah out of London, taking her to a remote area near Dover in Kent. It was later revealed that he raped her before killing her by strangulation. Her body was then set on fire and disposed of in a builder's bag in a woodland area in Ashford, Kent. These actions were premeditated, as evidenced by Couzens' careful planning. He had purchased the hire car days before the abduction and had researched isolated areas where he could carry out the crime. 4. The investigation. When Sarah Everard failed to return home on the night of March 3rd, her boyfriend reported her missing the following day. The Metropolitan Police launched an investigation, and the case quickly gained widespread attention. As a white woman from a middle-class background, Sarah's disappearance resonated with the media and the public, sparking a wave of concern about women's safety on the streets. Over the next few days, police scoured CCTV footage and interviewed witnesses. They discovered that Sarah had last been seen on Pointers Road in Clapham, walking towards Tulse Hill. CCTV footage from a nearby bus revealed a key clue: a white Vauxhall Astra that had been hired by Wayne Couzens. Couzens was identified using the vehicle's registration and linked to the abduction. On March 9th, 6 days after Sarah's disappearance, Couzens was arrested at his home in Deal, Kent, on suspicion of kidnapping. During a search of his home, police found the hire car he had used, as well as forensic evidence linking him to Sarah's abduction. On March 10th, Sarah Everard's remains were discovered in a woodland area in Ashford, Kent, approximately 50 miles from where she had been abducted. The post-mortem confirmed that she had been strangled. Couzens was subsequently charged with her murder. 5. The trial of Wayne Couzens. Wayne Couzens appeared in court in July 2021, where he pleaded guilty to the abduction, rape, and murder of Sarah Everard. The trial revealed the full extent of his actions, including the meticulous planning that had gone into the crime. Evidence presented during the trial painted a picture of a man who had abused his position of power as a police officer to carry out a horrific crime. Couzens' background also came under scrutiny. He had been a serving member of the Metropolitan Police's Parliamentary and Diplomatic Protection Command, responsible for protecting high-profile sites such as embassies. It was later revealed that Couzens had a history of indecent exposure incidents, including one just days before Sarah's murder. These red flags had been missed or ignored by his colleagues, raising serious questions about vetting and accountability within the police force. During the trial, Sarah's family delivered powerful victim impact statements describing the devastating loss they had suffered. Her mother, Sarah Everard, said, "Sarah died in horrendous circumstances. I go through the sequence of events. I wonder when she realized she was in mortal danger. I wonder what her murderer said to her." On September 30th, 2021, Wayne Couzens was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. The judge, Lord Justice Fulford, stated that the severity of the crime warranted a whole life order, which is a rare sentence reserved for the most heinous crimes in the UK. The judge highlighted that Couzens had eroded the confidence that the public should be able to have in the police. 6. Public outrage and protests. The murder of Sarah Everard ignited a national conversation about violence against women and the abuse of power by police officers. In the days following her death, thousands of women took to social media to share their own experiences of harassment and fear while walking alone, using the hashtag Reclaim These Streets. Sarah's case became a rallying point for those calling for systemic change to protect women from male violence. A vigil for Sarah was organized in Clapham Common, near where she had last been seen alive. However, the event turned controversial when the Metropolitan Police clashed with mourners, leading to several arrests. Images of women being forcibly removed by police officers sparked further outrage and led to accusations that the police had mishandled the situation. The backlash against the police was compounded by the fact that Sarah's killer had been a serving police officer. Many women expressed feelings of betrayal and anger, questioning how they could trust law enforcement when one of their own had committed such a heinous crime. The phrase "all cops are bastards" gained traction as people called for reform and greater accountability within the police force. 7. The broader implications, women's safety, and trust in law enforcement. Sarah Everard's murder had a profound impact on the national psyche, raising serious questions about women's safety and the role of the police in protecting the public. In response to the outcry, the UK government and law enforcement agencies were forced to confront issues that had long been overlooked. 7.1 Women's safety. The case sparked widespread fear among women, many of whom saw Sarah Everard's abduction as a chilling reminder that violence could occur even in seemingly safe environments. Public discourse shifted toward how society and the government could do more to address the systemic issues that make women vulnerable to violence. Campaigners demanded increased street lighting and CCTV in public spaces, better public education around consent and harassment, comprehensive reforms to the criminal justice system to ensure that crimes against women were taken seriously and prosecuted effectively. More women in positions of power within the police and government to address issues of gendered violence. 7 to policing and public trust. The fact that Wayne Couzens was a serving Metropolitan Police officer was a damning indictment of the failures within the force. The public demanded answers as to how an officer with a history of misconduct had been allowed to remain on the force. This led to a series of internal investigations into police culture, misconduct, and vetting procedures. The Independent Office for Police Conduct (IOPC) launched an inquiry into the Metropolitan Police's handling of Couzens' prior offenses and whether opportunities had been missed to prevent the crime. Trust in the police was severely damaged, particularly among women and marginalized communities. Many argued that the police were not doing enough to protect women, pointing to the fact that violence against women had often been trivialized or overlooked by law enforcement. In response, the UK government announced several measures to restore public trust and improve women's safety. These included the creation of a new government-appointed task force to focus on violence against women, increased funding for programs aimed at preventing male violence, a review of police vetting procedures to ensure that officers with a history of misconduct were removed from service. However, these measures were met with skepticism, as many campaigners felt they did not go far enough in addressing the root causes of the problem. 8. Conclusion: a tragic legacy and a call for change. The murder of Sarah Everard was a deeply tragic event that left a lasting impact on the UK. While the trial and conviction of Wayne Couzens brought some measure of justice, the broader issues of violence against women and the abuse of power within law enforcement remain ongoing challenges. Sarah's death exposed the vulnerabilities in the systems meant to protect women and underscored the urgent need for reform. The case galvanized a movement for change, with activists, lawmakers, and the public demanding greater protections for women and more accountability for the police. Though progress has been made in the wake of Sarah's murder, her case serves as a stark reminder that much more needs to be done to create a society where women can feel safe walking the streets without fear. Sarah Everard's legacy will not only be one of tragedy, but also of the powerful call for a safer and more just world for women across the UK.